We're so incompetent. Everyone is so incompetent. I've never heard any administration or any business or anybody ever claim incompetence more than this group of people.
Especially after preceding that with incredible claims of competence, where you have, the $1 trillion stimulus program is being released to amazing results. We're going to roll out this universal health care program, and everyone's going to get better and well and be covered and blah, blah, blah. They have to have this like diverging, claims where at one side they're the most competent people in the world that can manage these complex systems over hundreds of millions of people, and on the other side they can't get the most basic thing done.
Well, their leader is the smartest guy ever to exist on planet Earth. There's never been a leader smarter than that guy. He is just the most brilliant, and they're surrounded by the most brilliant people on the planet. And Cass Sunstein is there. Now, Cass Sunstein, this is why I've said he's the most dangerous man in America, because most people don't understand what he even was doing. What is his job? What is it that he would... Why would you say he's dangerous? The reason why I say Cass Sunstein was the most dangerous man in America is because you never saw Cass coming. You would never see him coming. You would never see his regulations being manipulated. You would just say, oh, well, you know what? It's just another government snafu. It's nudging. So what is the IRS scandal? Honestly, they didn't break any laws, right? I mean, unless they're intentionally targeting, but you can't really prove that. They're just asking questions. They weren't doing anything except nudging you. Isn't that interesting? Just nudging the entire time. Now, whose theory is that? Well, that's Cass Sunstein. What is Cass Sunstein's job? Paperwork. He's the regulations czar. When you think of regulations, government regulations, you think of paperwork. How was the IRS nudging people? Through paperwork. But of course, Cass Sunstein, would never have anything to do with something like that. Now, the IRS had 157 meetings at the White House. 157. When they asked the IRS chief, why 157 meetings? That's an awful lot. I mean, Hillary Clinton went how many times? 20? Eric Holder was there, I think, 40 or 50? Why 157 meetings? Now, these 157 meetings happened all during the time of this scandal and the health care debate. Now, who was leading the health care debate? Who was the one that the president was walking around? I'm talking to tea baggers. Remember? All of those slams against the Tea Party happened during the health care debate. That's what that was about. At the time, the head of the IRS and the political chairperson for the president are meeting at the White House. Now, they say, out of 157, when he was asked, what are you doing to those 157? He said, there's lots of reasons to go. For instance, I went to the Easter egg hunt. Oh, okay. All right. If you are actually coming down to the Easter egg hunt, that shows you have nothing. You are so deeply into lies because somebody who legitimately has nothing to hide does not go to the Easter egg hunt with 157 meetings because that takes us down. Let me give you all four of those. Now we're down to 153. What else do you do? What else do you do? So 153 meetings are left. We now know that he was meeting with the political chief of the White House and others at the White House. And what were they discussing? They were discussing universal health care and the implementation of it. Why were they discussing the implementation? Because of the conspiracy theory that the IRS is going to be running your health care. And we now know that's not a conspiracy. It's 16,000 new IRS agents are going to be monitoring your health care. So let's just look at it as a business. The IRS is a business. They get all kinds of new power, all kinds of new employees. and the biggest power grab the IRS has ever seen since Woodrow Wilson. So, is it unusual that they wouldn't discuss at all politics as they're putting all of this together? Nobody is like, "Hey, Ralph, you see what's going on? I mean, I know you're the political operative to the White House. Is there a chance this thing doesn't happen? Because have you seen what the Tea Party is saying? They're saying all these crazy things." There's no conversation at 154. There's no conversation during the height of the debate about the Tea Party. Not one. Nobody mentions it. Now, let me ask you this. I find that incredibly ridiculous to think that humans didn't have that conversation. Now, there is a chance, I don't believe it to be true, but there is a chance that the White House is populated by lizard people. But assuming they are all humans, it would be beyond a reasonable doubt to think that humans didn't have a conversation about the political dialogue while the president is out on the road going, "And I holding up that tea bag." It's unreasonable because it directly affects what they were discussing. Now, out of the 154 meetings, let's just say out of 100, they just had 100 meetings. He also had to attend 4 days for the Easter egg hiding part of the Easter egg hunt. So let's say they had 100 meetings. Tell me this conversation never happened at the White House. "You know, Ralph, here we are working last 100 days. Is there a chance that none of this is going to happen? Maybe we don't get the opportunity to help America by creating 16,000 new jobs. Maybe we don't grow our departments and gain just so many great things for the IRS and for America. Have you seen what the crazy Tea Partiers are saying?" Ralph responds, "I know, Jim. These 912 people and these Tea Partiers, they really think that they're death panels. Do you hear that? Sarah Palin was saying death panels. Yeah, well, actually, there are death panels." "Really?" Yeah. In fact, the IRS, your team is going to be part of that. "But I thought the president said there weren't going to be any death panels." And those people like Sarah Palin who said there were death panels, those are just crazy conspiracy theories. Yeah. Well, I think what happened was, nobody ever talks to the president. I'll just bet you that, he's just so incompetent. I'll bet you that he didn't know. And nobody told him about the death panel thing when he was saying that it was a conspiracy theory because, he wouldn't lie. I know. He's the most honest guy ever, right? He wouldn't lie. I know that. Yeah, me too. I know it too. Oh, but those Tea Party people, they're such good-hearted people. I disagree with them. But, man, they're good-hearted people, but they just don't know what's in their best interest. Yeah, kind of like what the president was saying about them Jews in Israel. Yeah, exactly. They just don't know what's in their best interest. Oh, man. Wish there was some way we could stop them, or at least slow them down so we could get this through. I know. If Cass just... if he hadn't have given that one idea for merely academic reasons, we could just flood them with regulatory paperwork. Stay within the law, of course. But then, if they said anything to the press, who will just take Cass's advice and just label them as conspiracy theorists and deny it? Yeah, but what would happen if it turned out to be true, like a couple of years down the road? Yeah, I know. That's what Cass wrote about in his academic paper. That's exactly what he said to do. Even if it turned out to be true, later we would just say, "Oh, well, we didn't know." Yeah, I know. That would be good, but that was an academic paper, right? Yeah, no, Cass said that it was just an academic paper. Crap. So we can't even consider using that idea for some strange reason. No, it was just academic. We can't, even though he works right down the hall, we can't even talk to him about that because that was just academic. Right, okay, yeah. Oh, well, let's just get back to work for the American people, help them and create a better, more streamlined healthcare system, where there are no death panels and the IRS oversees all the paperwork in a friendly and efficient manner. Yeah, right. But, Ralph, remember, only for those who choose universal health care. Oh, I know, because if you have a doctor you like, say it with me, you'll be able to keep him. That never happened. That conversation never happened. Here's the guy who is in charge of all of the regulations. What is the IRS if it isn't a regulatory process? What is it? And so nobody brought up the purely academic study that tells the IRS to do exactly what they did. Tells the EPA to do exactly what the EPA was doing to conservative groups as well.
I don't think it happened as clandestinely as that conversation just alleged. I think it's a little more direct than that. Hey, these a-holes need to be investigated. Let's make their life a living hell. That's what I think happened.
No, I don't think that was. No, there was no clandestine there. No, they were serious. It was only an academic paper, so they couldn't use it.
Sure. I don't think they care about any of that stuff. Do you? I mean,
what?
That they care if it was an academic paper or not?
No, you don't know, Pat. Apparently, you don't know the red line around academic papers.
No.
When you issue an academic paper. It is for academia only. It is not for use in the real world under any circumstance.
I know that.
So most people don't know that. Most people would say, why would you issue an academic paper? That doesn't make any sense. What is it? It's only for university use? Well, why? What a waste of time that would be. If you're not trying to teach something or trying to figure out why would you even issue an academic paper? And what is the penalty for using an academic paper? And why is it that somebody who has those theories and really kind of searches them and then almost has, excuse me, but I think this is almost what it was, an orgasm when he is told he is the new regulatory czar? You help me out here. What's the red line around that academic paper? And what are the odds that that academic paper, which of course was never used, nobody ever thought of that theory. Well, I mean, outside of just mere theory. What is the penalty? Why wouldn't somebody use the academic paper? Of course. But they didn't talk about it as an academic paper. Cass Sunstein, this is the world he creates. What happened with the IRS is exactly the story that we told you about called Philip Drew, Administrator. You create the paperwork to nudge people into what you want them to do. What did the administration want the Tea Party to do? Shut up and sit down. So you nudge them into that. And if that doesn't work, then you start breaking heads open. I mean, Ron Bloom will tell you that we all pretty much agree that power comes from the end of a gun, a barrel of a gun. That's Ron Bloom, our car czar. Well, help me out on this. Before there's a gun, there's a nudge. If you have a president who is talking about political enemies and making them pay, we know who our enemies are, and we're going to make them pay. How do you make them pay? You don't shoot them. You make their life a living hell. But that's the whole theory behind nudge. That's exactly how this administration and the progressives work. And now they're denying it? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But you have to be able to use reason. You have to be able to know how to find facts. And you have to be able to use logic. And we haven't taught any of that in schools for a long time. The news media hasn't used any of it in I don't know how long. And most of the American people no longer know how to use it or think this way. They're taught what to think. Not how to think. What to think. And that's why we can be nudged.